Hello again, I'm Sarah O'Connell and I want you all to sing along at home as I cue the theme tune.
Welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
Yes, welcome to the fourth multi-award avoiding episode of the Sarah O'Connell Show. Boy Meets Girl returns to our screens on Wednesday the 6th of July at 10 p.m. on BBC Two. To celebrate, this week I've got an exclusive interview with its star Rebecca Root.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Root and welcome to the Sarah O'Connell Show.
I'll be telling you my top 10 British sitcoms of all time. I'm even giving away a copy of Boy Meets Girl on DVD. Having loved Series 1, I was lucky enough to be cast as a supporting artist on Series 2 of Boy Meets Girl, so in March I travelled up to Manchester for a week to get involved with filming. I had to get up pretty early at 4 in the morning each day to get ready and make my way over to Granada Studios, which you may know was the former home of Coronation Street. Granada Studios served as a base where we'd get checked each morning by the wardrobe department and have a bit of breakfast before making our way by coach onto location for filming. Now, you've all heard of Southern Fried Chicken. Their catering department had Northern Fried Chicken, which I thought was brilliant. The cast and crew were all incredibly friendly, they knew everybody's names, and we all had a lot of fun on set and I made some fantastic new friends. I did 3 days of filming, so there's a good chance you might see the back of my head or my elbow in a scene, so be sure to look out for it, and if they don't, I'll have to claim somebody else's elbow as my own. As my scenes take place later in the series, I won't spoil for you what happens, but I will tell you that a flying noodle did land in my drink at one point. I was recently invited up to the BBC in London for a special screening of the first episode of Series 2, followed by a Q&A with the cast and crew. Now, it was really hot in London that night and I'd spent about 2.5 hours on the train and the underground. When I got there was a table laid out with food and drinks and I was offered a glass of wine, so I took it and it was icy cold and delicious and I drank it in about 4 seconds. Put my glass down and it was immediately offered to refill it, which is fantastic service. But sadly, I was planning to do a couple of interviews that night, so I thought I shouldn't be paralytic when I did it, because I don't know what would happen, what I'd say, how many cheese straws I'd eat. It could be a disaster. So I'm pleased to report I was sensible, and I just had an orange juice and the cheese straws. I also got the chance to interview the amazing Denise Welsh and writer Elliot Kerrigan, so be sure to subscribe to the Sarah O'Connell Show as I'll be releasing them in a later episode. Before we get on to the interview, I'd like to share with you my top 10 British sitcoms of all time. There's a couple that didn't quite make the list, such as the IT Crowd and Father Ted, that I couldn't squeeze in there without using some of the numbers twice. And number 10 is The In-Betweeners, which is about 4 socially awkward teenagers who are struggling with school, relationships and life in general. After 3 series, a film was released in 2011, which went on to have the biggest opening weekend at the UK box office for a comedy. There also followed a second film and even a US spin-off, which was created by MTV in 2012, but it was ultimately cancelled due to low ratings, because it was rubbish. And number 9 is Bottom, starring Rick Mell and Ade Edmondson. It was known for its anarchic comedy and violent slapstick, and if you watch the last episode you'll know I loved it. The show ran for 3 series and also spawned 5 live comedy tours and a movie. And number 8 is Peep Show, starring David Mitchell as an uptight manager and Robert Webb as a wannabe musician. What made the show unique is that it was shot entirely in first person from the characters' perspectives and even featured their narration. The show ran for 9 series with the final airing in 2015. And number 7 is Not Going Out, starring Lee Mack and Sally Breton as a pair of 30-somethings who share a flat. The sitcom is full of great one-liners and double entendres and occasionally Bobby Ball. The show features one of the best will they won't they relationships since Ross and Rachel, and despite being originally cancelled back in the 3rd series, due to overwhelming fan support and DVD sales, is still going strong with an 8th series currently in production. And number 6 is Boy Meets Girl, starring the award-winning Rebecca Root and Harry Heppel as Judy and Leo. The show's a romantic comedy about not only their relationship, but also about their hilarious families. There's an amazing supporting cast and it's the first sitcom to feature a transgender lead character. The 2nd series ups the ante even more by being the first British sitcom in history to feature the host of the Sarah O'Connell Show. Or, well, maybe just my elbow, we'll wait and see. And number 5 is Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, starring Michael Crawford as the incredibly accident-prone Frank Spencer. He's also married to Betty, who's played by Michelle Dautrice. Incredibly, Michael Crawford did all of the stunts in the show himself, making his performance even more impressive. And number 4, Red Dwarf is a sci-fi comedy about the last human being alive and complete space bum Dave Lister, who's travelling through space with a hologram and smeg head called Rema, a robot with a head shaped like a novelty condom called Crichton, and a cat who spends all day looking in the mirror. Series 11 and 12 are currently being filmed back to back for release this year and next on the channel Dave. And number 3, Blackadder starred Rowan Atkinson and Tony Robinson. It ran for 4 series and each was set in a completely different historical time period. Series 3 and 4 were particularly good and were set during the early 1800s and World War I. In addition to being very funny, some scenes were also incredibly poignant and powerful, especially the conclusion to Series 4. In second place is Only Fools and Horses, which has quite rightly topped many comedy lists. Starring David Jason and Nicholas Lyndhurst as 2 market traders from Peckham, their attempts to become millionaires led to many hilarious situations throughout the years. The show ran from 1981 to 2003 and spawned 2 spin-offs which you'll notice did not make it onto this list. In first place is Fawlty Towers, which incredibly there's only actually 12 episodes of, but they're all completely timeless and endlessly rewatchable. Set in a fictional hotel, it starred John Cleese and Prunella Scales as Basil and Sybil Fawlty. Each episode was self-contained and would usually spiral out of hand, causing angry outbursts from Basil as he tried to maintain control. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 list and be sure to let me know yours too. I'm now delighted to present my interview with Boy Meets Girl star Rebecca Root. I'll just quickly turn on the audio commentary for a piece of bonus trivia. This episode was filmed on a completely different day to the interview, but I've put on the same clothes for continuity. Now, you played Judy in Boy Meets Girl. How did you get involved in the show, and can you tell me a bit about it for the uninitiated?
Well, I was first approached to audition for the table read for the pilot. That was back in the autumn of 2013. And after that table read, and basically a table read, for those people who don't know, is basically it's a private reading of a script with scripts in hand for an invited audience, usually comprising TV executives, commissioning editors, etc., producers and so forth. So on the basis of that, and that was actually Elliot Kerrigan's winning script for the Trans Comedy Award in 2013. So on the basis of that, the BBC commissioned Tiger Aspect to make a pilot, which we made in February 2014, which was subsequently shown at the Salford Sitcom Festival in March 2014. And then about 6 weeks later, or maybe, it was really quick. It felt really fast. The BBC commissioned a series, which was really exciting. And I didn't have to audition for the series, but I did have to audition for the pilot. So once the Beeb said, make the series, guys, that sort of sealed my fate, as it were.
Fantastic. Now, there's an amazing cast. What were they like to work with?
I know, total legends, aren't they? Janine Davitsky, legendary Janine Davitsky playing my mum, Peggy. Denise Welsh, brilliant Denise, playing the mother of my love interest, Leo, played by the brilliant Harry Heppel, as well as Lizzie Roper and Nigel Betts and Johnny Dixon.
Do you have a favourite scene from Series 1?
Oh gosh, that's really difficult. There are so many. It's funny because actually I watched the series again recently just to kind of remind myself, because I hadn't seen it for almost a year, and I loved the scene in the restaurant where my character Judy comes out to Leo. I loved that scene. I
loved his indifference to it as well.
Yeah. Well, he just processes it, doesn't he? He kind of just seems to absorb the information very quietly, processes, what's a very big reveal for, any trans person, really. That was lovely. I mean, it was just beautifully written and very sensitive. And then I also loved scenes like the bowling alley scene where my character Judy stands up to a couple of transphobic bullies who are picking on her and Leo. And, Judy initially attempts to placate them, but eventually she kind of loses her cool, but in quite a cool way. So I don't want to say too much if you haven't seen it, but it was a moment I was quite proud of. And suffice it to say, although I've had sort of episodes in the past in my own life, I've never actually been able to do to those people what I did on TV.
It's a good message to send, at least, isn't it?
Yeah. Although it's funny because I did actually get a couple of comments on social media from people saying, "Oh, Rebecca, you really let the side down. You shouldn't you shouldn't be seen to be violent and all the rest of it." And I said, "Hey, listen, I'm acting. That was acting. It's not me. I've never actually. I mean, I've been beaten up, but I've never actually fought back. So, yeah, I just had to you just have to put things into perspective, don't you?"
They're probably like, you don't want to get banned from the bowling alley.
No, I know, right? And that was the first time I'd ever been in a bowling alley as well. Yeah, it was great fun, and I haven't been back, so I'd like to try that someday.
Yeah, hopefully in calmer circumstances.
Yes, exactly.
What do you think sets Boy Meets Girl apart from other sitcoms on TV?
Well, I suppose at its heart is a love story. That's what I say. You can't have love stories in sitcoms, but it's very kind of sensitivity or the romance of it places it firmly in the rom-com genre, I would say. Certainly series 1. And I feel that it really showed what it was like to meet someone, as the name of the show suggests, and just how the relationship unfolds and develops. And I think that's something that is really lovely and quite charming. And of course, it's very funny. It's a bit, Judy and Leo were kind of like the straight characters, in that they were sort of the level-headed ones, and everything was going a bit mad around them, all the crazy zany characters around them.
Absolutely. So when did you first find out that there was going to be a series 2, and how did you react? Were there any celebrations?
Well, actually, we were told quite early on after series 1 went out, and so that was October, and we all said, "Oh, can we tweet? Can we say, And the production company said, "Yeah, I'm sure that's fine, So there was this flurry in October last year when just, it was a couple of weeks or a week even after series 1 ended. And so, there was some tweetiness or whatever it's called. And then sort of about 2 hours later, we had word from on high that the BBC would rather that we didn't tweet anything, and we then had to sit on it for the official announcement to come, which happened sometime in December, I think, if my memory serves me right. So it's about 6 more weeks, maybe 2 months before we could actually then finally say we're going to a second series.
And what was it like to be reunited with the cast again? Had you kept in touch in between?
Yeah, very much. I mean, obviously people are busy, and people are going all over the world and what have you. I had a busy year last year, but certainly I saw Denise several times, Janine once or twice, Elliot, the author, lots, Harry and Nigel and Johnny, not so much. Johnny lives up north. Harry was busy. Nigel was very busy. So, I kind of didn't see them as much, but certainly Denise, saw a lot of Denise.
Fantastic. Now, I had the honour and privilege of working a bit on Series 2 of Boy Meets Girl, which was very exciting, and I can attest it's very funny. What can you tell people about Series 2 without spoiling anything? What can they look forward to?
Yeah, and it was, Sarah, it was great to have you as well on the show. It was really brilliant, and what was wonderful about Series 2 is that it kind of did open up and bring in more people from the trans community to have cameos or smaller parts, and that was brilliant because it felt much more kind of inclusive. In Series 2, you'll see a development of the relationship between Leo and Judy, their living arrangements, also their plans for the future are under discussion, and you also see some additional characters coming into the the families as well from other perspectives. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to sort of spoil things for people. But it's very much a way of opening up the world and finding out more about the people that we met in series 1.
Fantastic. And how long did the filming take, and where did it take place? I know some of it was, of course, in Manchester.
Yeah, well, it was about 6 weeks all told, and then I believe there's about a 6-week period of editing, 2 months editing afterwards, in which time there's maybe a little bit of ADR to do as well. But we filmed most of it in Manchester, where there's a phenomenal facilities, studios and crews on tap, and then we filmed some key scenes in Newcastle over a couple of 3 days, some really iconic backdrops and street scenes were included from Newcastle because, of course, the show's set in Newcastle and the heart and soul of the show is Newcastle. So most of the actors are from the northeast, and so it's very much got a kind of the Geordie feel.
Absolutely. So my next question is, how on earth do you remember all of your lines? I remember in one particular scene in series 2 that the director would say, not go to the beginning of a scene, but go to a particular line, almost like he was rewinding and fast forwarding it in real time, and the actors would just pick up straight away. How do you do that?
Well, I think there must be some kind of mechanism in the brain whereby if you repeat something enough times, it kind of seems to stick. So, you kind of remember people's birthdays if they're close to you and they're constantly, coming around. Phone numbers, certainly in the olden days, when you actually had to physically dial a number rather than just press a name, if you see what I mean. You would remember a number through the actual kind of active pressing on the handset or the old-fashioned muscle memory. And so it's the same with learning lines. The more you say the lines, the more they stick. In reality, when you film something, certainly a show like Boy Meets Girl, there aren't many speeches that are longer than 5 or 6 lines, really. It's not like a sort of a heavy costume drama or a Shakespeare or a Dickens adaptation where people have pages and pages of speeches. But even then, it's kind of, you're still accessing the memory muscles that you would employ if you were doing a stage play, where you do obviously learn the lines. So, but when you film, you just do a tiny moment, film it, do it again another way, and then you move on. And then, so I can't remember any of the lines from Boy Meets Girl because I remember them for a short space of time and then I ditch them. But plays, on the other hand, because you've learnt them over a period of weeks and then you perform them for a period of weeks, the lines seem to live within you just that bit longer.
Absolutely. Now, between scenes, you're also quite the Rubik's Cube master. Are you still keeping that up? I just saw you complete one, which was very exciting.
Yeah, no, well, I learnt the 3x3, then I got a 2x2, then a 4x4, then a 5x5, and I was able to do. I can do all of them, but there are a couple of manoeuvres on the bigger ones, the 5x5s, which just require a certain sequence of moves, and I could never quite get that in my head. So no matter how many times I did it, and I would always be following this set of instructions, but there's nothing more satisfying than doing the Rubik's Cube, and it was a great brain break as well, whereby you can... rather than sort of checking Facebook or whatever, which draws you in a lot more, I couldn't do that between takes, but just picking up the cube, doing it for a couple of moves and then putting it down again meant that I wasn't actually kind of totally detaching from the concentration and the mood that I was in for the filming. Besides which, it looks really cool if you can do that, So yeah, it was one of my achievements of this year.
Absolutely. So in addition to Boy Meets Girl, you recently played a nurse in The Danish Girl. How did that film resonate with you?
Well, I mean, it was an amazing experience to be in that film. It was a very high-profile picture of 2015. And in fact, it actually opened in the UK on New Year's Day 2016, so I can almost say it's this year as well, although I filmed it over a year ago. It had a resonance because I remember when I was transitioning, and in my subsequent visit to Charing Cross Hospital, I also formed a relationship with, not a relationship, but a certain bond for patient-nurse, a relationship with the nurse who was sort of on the ward at Charing Cross. And so it felt really, it was really lovely to be playing that type of nurse who then subsequently had an empathy and a bond with Eddie Redmayne's character, Lily. There was another scene which didn't make the final cut, which showed a bit more of their kind of relationship, if you like. So it was disappointing, but that it didn't make the final edit. But that's filmmaking.
Since the film came out, and of course the show, you've been very busy. You've been to Washington DC. You've been to your first premiere. How would you say your life has sort of changed recently?
Really since 2014 for 2015, it's almost as if somebody just waved a little magic wand over Rebecca Root and said, you shall have everything you wish. Well, not everything, but, a lot of things that I wished for.
You're on the Sarah O'Connell show, so...
I know, right? Yeah, well, I am now. It's only taken us a year. But then it's a big check for 2016.
Exactly. We're only a few episodes in, so it's pretty good going.
Great. That's true, of course. You see, it wasn't up and running last year, was it? That's brilliant. I don't know. I just did I was lucky. I just feel incredibly blessed, Sarah. I just feel that my time has come and I'm ready. I'm in a good place emotionally. I feel ready. I feel comfortable. I saw a friend yesterday who I hadn't seen for a number of years. She lives in Australia, so I don't see her very often. But she said, "You look different." And I last saw her maybe 6 years ago. She said, "You look different, Bax." And I said, "Well, how?" And she said, "You just look happy." And I said, "Well, I don't think I was unhappy when I last saw you." She said, "Yeah, but you just seem to be so much more comfortable in your skin." It was interesting that she said that, and I thought maybe I am, because now I've had a measure of success. I feel comfortable with where I am in my career and my personal life, and I sort of just feel like I'm okay. I mean, I don't want to tempt fate, so I'll touch lots of wood, and there is lots of wood in this room. But I just feel quite positive, and maybe that's what is coming through.
That's fantastic. Did you always want to be an actor? Was that your ambition, when you were young?
Yeah, when I was little, I only ever wanted two things. One was to be a girl, and the other was to be an actor. So yeah, I've got both.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's always good. So in addition to acting, you also do vocal coaching. Tell me a bit about that and how you got into it.
Yeah, I'm a voice coach. I work with actors, drama students, non-actors as well. I work with a lot of people from the trans community who are seeking to work on their voice so that it represents something closer to how they feel. I got into it. I did an MA at Royal Central School of Speech and Drama in 2007-08, and it was because I felt that my acting career was. This is all way before Boy Meets Girl, and although I had never given up acting, but I was only getting a job or two a year. It's not really anything to call a living. So I thought I really needed to do something that would challenge me intellectually and professionally, and also give me a rewarding second alternative or parallel career. So I did my master's, and I wrote about, in my thesis, I wrote about transgender vocal adaptation, and it seemed to catch the beginning of the wave of trans acceptancy in the global communities. And my academic career took off way quicker than my acting career did. So it was funny because for a number of years I was actually more famous, quote unquote, if you like, more well known as a voice coach than I was as an actor. Okay. But I never lost sight of my identity as an actor. And I've always said that the voice coaching is complementary to my performance. But then I would also say that my voice work has made me a better actor, especially because I work with actors and young drama students. So I see how it fits in to performance. So So I think everything's it's a package, isn't it? You know, I do voice work, but I'm an actor. But I also do voice work. So yeah, but it's been a very rewarding second career.
Fantastic. Are there any actors or any shows that you'd like to work on? Have you got a wish list?
Well, TV. Certainly, there's obviously Doctor Who. I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. I really want to get into that somehow. I would love to do like a sort of a period drama or something. You know, sort of if not Poldark, then a Dickens adaptation or something like that. I'd love to do something like that. In terms of theatre, I'd love to do more Shakespeare. I'd love to work at the Armida Theatre or the Donmar Warehouse, where they have, you know, modern cutting-edge plays. Simon Stevens is one of my favourite writers, so if he's watching, Simon, please write me a part. Thank you. So you know, I've got lots of things that I want to do. I want to do more radio drama. So yeah, there's lots to do.
And what have you been up to since filming finished on Boy Meets Girl? I know you visited Amazon. I believe you're doing a bit of a reading for a book. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. I did an audiobook for Audible, which is the recording of Juliet Jake's memoir called Trans. So that was a great experience. That was my first audiobook, and really enjoyed doing that. It was a wonderful experience, and getting to do all the different voices and the accents and everything. That was really good, especially like playing some of the guys. So that was interesting to kind of put a bloke's voice on. And that's out already, so you know you can get that from the Audible website. I've done some bits and pieces. I've got a few projects in the pipeline, things that I can't really talk much about at the moment, but I've got a few jobs kind of lined up for the next couple of 3 months. So yeah, fantastic. Exciting times.
Excellent stuff. So finally, where can people find out more about you online? Where can they follow you on Twitter? I know you've got a new Facebook page as well, which everybody should like. Where is that?
Thank you. Yeah, so I was in a bit of a dither about doing a Facebook page or not, and in the end I decided to just separate out some of my personal stuff with my public stuff. So the Facebook page is simply Rebecca Root, Twitter at Rebecca Root 1969, Instagram the same at Rebecca Root 1969. 1969, of course, is a significant year in my life. I can't say any more than that.
That was, of course, 20 years before you were born.
That's right.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Only 2 decades to go.
That's right. My own personal website is rebeccaroot.co.uk. But good old Google will point the way if you just type in my name.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your time and for coming on the Sarah O'Connell show today. Boy Meets Girl Series 2 is out on Wednesday, the 6th of July.
That's right. Thank you very much for having me, Sarah.
Thank you. As a thank you for watching, this week I've teamed up with Acorn DVD to give away Boy Meets Girl. For a chance to win, simply head over to the YouTube comments and tell me your favourite British sitcom of all time. The competition is open to UK residents aged 18 years and over, and I wish you the very best of luck. That wraps things up for the 4th episode. Huge thanks to Acorn DVD and the amazing Rebecca Root. There'll be more of my interview with her on a later episode. Until then, I hope you've enjoyed watching. Please do all share and subscribe this if you enjoyed it, and give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Send me a message on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, and I'll see you all again soon for another episode of The Sarah O'Connell Show. Bye!